Today we're going to talk about fractions, and we're going to start with the question, what are fractions? You've probably seen fractions before, and we know that they look like something like this, 1 over 2. We can also call that 1/2. But what does a fraction mean? Conceptually, we often say a fraction is the parts over the whole. But that's not very accurate because it leaves a lot out. You see, a fraction is really the number of parts we have. So how many parts we have all over how many parts make up a whole. So how many parts in a whole. So if we look at 1/2 again, this tells us the whole has 2 parts and we have only 1 part. Now these numbers also have special names. So we call the number on top the numerator, and we call the number on the bottom the denominator. And so we'll often refer to specific parts of a fraction, especially as we go up to higher level math classes. Knowing this vocabulary, numerator and denominator, will become more important. However, if you just say the top or the bottom, most people will understand what you're saying. So let's do an example of visualizing a fraction. So let's say we have the fraction 3 over 4. This means we have 3 pieces and our whole is broken into 4 parts. We can draw this as a picture. We could draw a circle and divide it into 4 parts. That's our whole. And then it says we have 3 of them, so we'll shade in 3 parts of this circle. And that represents 3/4. We don't need to use a circle. We could also use a square. And then if we wanted to shade in 3/4, you'd shade in 3/4. If you're really feeling creative, you can use any shape. For example, a triangle. An equilateral triangle divides nicely into 4 parts, and then if we shade 3 of them, you get this cool little picture. But generally speaking, circles and squares or rectangles are going to be the easiest to represent a fraction. And of course, we can go from a fraction to a picture. So let's go the other way, from a picture to a fraction. So this one's going to start with a circle. And let's say this circle is divided into this many pieces, and this many are shaded in. So to create a fraction, we first need to know what our fraction bar is. And the number on the bottom is how many pieces in the whole. So this circle was cut into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. So the number that goes on the bottom, our denominator, is 5. Now we need to count the number of pieces we have shaded. That's 1 and 2. So we have 2 over 5 as our fraction, which you would say in words as 2/5. And that brings us to the end of this lesson. We can now conceptualize what fractions mean. We can draw them as pictures, and we can take a picture and write it as a fraction.